5:42 p.m., Tuesday. The sky above Manhattan was gray and mean, like someone had ordered extra clouds on DoorDash. Below, New Yorkers hustled, argued, rode the subway, bought pretzels, and sincerely believed they'd seen it all. That, of course, was about to change. On the far side of the atmosphere, drifting like a black billiard ball over the continent, the Zorvanti flagship, officially named the triumphant suppression platform, waited for the perfect moment. Its hull gleamed like an obsidian knife. Inside, alien officers sweated blue under their helmets, watching unfamiliar weather reports flicker on their monitors. But at the command console, Supreme Director Grolax was cool as starlight and twice as smug. "Prepare the incursion at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard," Grolax intoned, his voice carrying the authority of a creature who always gets the armrest. "Even in zero gravity." "Yes, Director," said his tactical lieutenant. A nervous bundle of limbs named Privik Grolax surveyed the map. "This, New York, is their capital?" "No, Supreme Director," Privik replied. "Then why is it Target 1? Privik blinked his third eyelid. "Our screens encountered memes," Grolax sneered. "Earth's future will not be decided by jokes. Initiate descent." Above Manhattan, commuters caught the first sign, a sharp blue line slashing the sky. Everyone paused for exactly half a second, long enough to Instagram the moment, before honking resumed and someone shouted, "Hey, what's with the light show? I got somewhere to be." At 5:45 p.m. sharp, Times Square's billboards flickered and the triumphant suppression platform began its descent. The city's millions, each already main character in their own movie, looked up. An old man feeding pigeons muttered, "Must be a new Avengers promo." Pigeons, in classic New York fashion, didn't even bother to fly away. On the ground, Brooklyn-born cab driver Tony Romano nearly spilled his coffee as every car screeched to a halt. He checked his rearview mirror. "Aliens? Of course it's aliens. Like traffic ain't bad enough." Meanwhile, on the alien ship, Grolax marveled at the defiance below. "Why do they not flee?" Privik squinted at the screens. "Primary response appears to be impatience, Supreme Director. Someone just yelled at a police horse." Grolax rolled his eyes, all four of them. Inside the dropship bay, Zorvanti soldiers lined up, armor polished, weapons prepped, translation drones humming. They had all trained for this. None had prepared for what they would face. Pedestrians gawked as a swirl of black dropships ripped the clouds open and hovered over the neon chaos. Tourists froze mid-selfie. Street vendors put down their umbrellas. A guy in a knockoff Spider-Man suit checked if alien invasion was covered by his union. The lead Zorvanti shuttle hovered above Broadway, casting its shadow across an ocean of taxis, buses, and honking humanity. The first ship's doors peeled back. 40 armored Zorvanti shock troops hovered down on gravity pads, boots hissing against the asphalt. They formed a perfect square, plasma rifles up, visor lights glowing cold blue. Their commander, Captain Zarn, took center stage. He swept his cape dramatically and blasted his first words into Times Square. "People of Earth, you are now under Zorvanti governance. Surrender all authority and submit to stricter order. Panic is optional but recommended." No one panicked. Well, a tourist named Kyle from Wisconsin briefly tried, but his phone battery died. Instead, a hot dog vendor gave the invaders a suspicious look and returned to counting cash. A cyclist narrowly avoided a dropship platform, skidding to a stop. "Are you folks double-parked or just here for the matinee?" he shouted, waving a handlebar. Inside, Captain Zarn eyed his translator drone. "Are they cowering yet?" The drone replied monotone, "Most are ignoring. Some are actively annoyed." Back by the cabs, Tony Romano leaned out his window and shouted, "Hey Martian, you blocking traffic or just sightseeing?" Captain Zarn blinked. "This unit will demonstrate authority. Confiscate the yellow vehicle." 2 shock troops stalked toward Tony's cab, weapons up. New York barely noticed. The traffic had been worse on Monday. Tony calmly rolled up his window, finished his coffee, and unlocked his glove compartment with a click that would fill a horror movie director with pride. In the back seat, his passenger, a lawyer named Denise, opened her purse and pulled out a pepper spray can the size of a thermos. One trooper knocked on Tony's window. Exit your vehicle! Tony peered at him, unimpressed. You got Metro card? Didn't think so. Their standoff was interrupted by a sonic blast. Behind them, a bus leaned on its horn, a single, defiant 12-second note. A laughing chorus of honks followed, as if all of Manhattan had decided this was Tuesday's community project. The lead shock trooper took a sonic reading. Commander, we are under local audio assault. Possible directed energy weapon. Captain Zarn frowned. Increase volume shields. His technician shrugged. Sir, these frequencies are unregulated. On the flagship, Grolax was incredulous. Are they already resisting? Privik shook his head. They are negotiating the terms of their irritation. Down below, at the edge of Times Square, a pizza delivery guy zipped between armored boots. He glanced at the dropships, the plasma rifles, the crowd barely interested. Shrugging, he checked his GPS and muttered, 10 minutes or it's free. Good luck with traffic, space bros. Meanwhile, a homeless poet with an old typewriter clasped his hands, ready to record the madness. God bless Manhattan. Even the aliens looked confused, as the plaza filled with more ships, and every corner bristled with plasma rifles. One thing became clear. If the Zorvanti wanted order, they'd picked the wrong theater. The invasion's first close encounter happened in front of a dollar slice joint, where two Zorvanti soldiers confronted Tony and Denise in the yellow cab. One aimed a plasma rifle at the window. This vehicle is now property of the Zorvanti Unity. Step outside and face your new destiny. Tony rolled his eyes. I'm on the clock. You see a tip chart in here? No? Get lost. Denise, still calm, leaned up from the back seat and flashed a business card. I charge $400 an hour for legal intimidation. Yours is looking pro bono. The troopers hesitated, uncertain. Their briefing had not mentioned negotiations with civilians over 2 slices and a traffic citation. They blinked their 4 eyes. Tony cracked his knuckles. One trooper whispered, Sir, the natives are armed with attitude. Their tools appear improvised. A city bus honked again, drowning out the next command. Somewhere a pigeon landed on a plasma rifle. Someone else tossed a street pretzel in the air, betting it would hit a helmet. You could feel it. A weird mood was spreading faster than the invasion itself. This was no longer panic. It had morphed into the rare, spicy flavor of New York group stubbornness. Back at command, Supreme Director Grolax watched brake lights form glittering rivers on satellite maps. Report. Technician, Grolax barked. Technician Privik stared at a live feed. They seem unimpressed. Local violation threshold exceeds predictions. Grolax's patience began to fray. Are these really their most valuable citizens? A cultural analyst piped up, Sir, data shows this city worships 2 things above all, pizza and never letting anyone cut the line. Grolax exhaled so hard his breath misted the console glass. Suppress the food sectors first. We must control morale. A squad of alien enforcers broke away and stomped towards a steaming hot dog cart, now manned with grim determination by a vendor named Murray. He wore a Yankees cap older than most planets and didn't pause as 3 7-foot armored beings towered over him. You there, cease your cooking activities. This territory is under Unity control, barked the lead soldier. Murray popped open the lid. You want onions? No, said the trooper, blinking. Sauerkraut? We are here for your compliance, not condiments. Murray ladled a mountain of onions onto the grill, letting the cloud drift straight toward their visors. One alien wobbled. The second's sensors flashed red. Toxin detected. Mask failure. Retreat. Murray deadpanned. Try the brown mustard, champ. The crowd cheered as the soldiers stumbled away, vision blurred, dignity leaking. A tourist from Ohio live-streamed the whole mess to 30,000 followers. By the time the Unity Command called for tactical retreat from steam sausage providers, Murray had already doubled his prices. At the southern edge of Times Square, the blue flash of police lights arrived. Sergeant Maria Ortiz, NYPD, eyed the alien formation, then the gridlock now curled in all directions. Her partner, Jamal, squinted out the windshield. You thinking what I'm thinking? Ortiz popped her trunk. Yeah, aliens picked the wrong city. Take cover. Police moved in, ducking behind planters and delivery trucks. Plasma bolts crackled blue over neon signs. Concrete chipped. A hot dog cart instantly became an armored outpost. Ortiz grabbed a bullhorn. "You in the fancy helmets!" New York does not do surrender. Lay down your arms before someone files a complaint. The Zorvanti commander barked, "Rebel law enforcement. Suppressed with extreme prejudice." Jamal fired back. "Hey, you guys licensed to block Broadway?" A bystander in a foam Statue of Liberty had tossed his torch like a javelin. Miraculously, it bounced off an alien's armored knee, and the crowd let out a cheer. Elsewhere, across 43rd Street, construction workers, still in their boots and orange vests, emerged from a nearby site. The foreman, Eddie, surveyed the chaos and radioed, "Jimmy, tell me the aliens pulled a work permit." His walkie squawked. "You kidding? They haven't even got harnesses." Eddie cracked his neck, grabbed a steel crowbar, and said to his crew, "All right, we're on lunch. Let's educate these tourists." 3 burly workers ducked behind orange cones and trash cans, using power tools, hammers, and in one case, a highly illegal laser pointer. As the Zorvanti advanced, Eddie waved them down. "Hey, Sparkle Pants! You guys got dot approval for airspace over Broadway? No? You're gonna want it. City gets touchy about drones over pedestrians." One confused officer started filling out an incident form on his tablet before a plasma blast forced him back. His squad mates stared in silent horror at the paperwork. Back near the subway entrance, 2 Unity enforcers made the supreme mistake, trying to bring order to a New York rush-hour commuter line. They blocked the turnstiles and thundered, "This facility now belongs to the Zorvanti order. All foot traffic must halt." Thick crowds of tired office workers didn't slow. A woman in heels snapped, "Move, or I call your supervisor." A bearded guy carrying bodega flowers tried to push past. "Yo, my train's here. You gonna arrest all of us or just the ones with Metro cards?" One unfortunate alien found himself shoulder-checked by a grandma from Queens who'd seen 4 rent hikes and 2 mayors come and go. She jabbed him with an umbrella. "You want the Bronx Express, honey? This ain't it." The translator drone glitched, trying to keep up with the accent, and simply shut down. A sea of commuters pressed through. The soldiers were lifted off their feet, swept through the turnstiles, and deposited on the platform, right into the path of a subway car piloted by one of the city's most legendary operators, Frank "No Stops" Alvarez. As the doors slid open, both aliens tried to back up. They were swept forward by a tidal wave of passengers eager to snag a seat, or at least not get stuck behind slow walkers. Frank leaned out his window. "You trying to ride without tap? Good luck with that." The doors closed and the train took off, dragging the Zorvanti deeper into the tunnels. On the street above, commuters buzzed about the weird delays. A busker started improvising a rap about alien rush hour, a phrase that started trending on social media before dinner. And somewhere behind a pretzel cart, a kid asked his mom, "Are the aliens gonna eat everybody?" Mom just shrugged. "Nah. Worst they'll do is hold up the line for pizza." The tension in the air was spicy, balancing on a knife edge between danger and a city-wide prank. And as the sun set on Times Square, everyone, from commuters to commanders, could sense it. Tonight, New York was just getting started. Panic should have swept the city by now. But Manhattan's balance tipped in a different direction. Instead of frightened crowds, the avenue hummed with defiant energy and endless noise. Alien squads marched past traffic jams and street vendors. They tried to look fierce, but ended up dodging taxis and delivery bikes. At one corner, a squad of Zorvanti spotted a pizza shop called Vinny's Famous. Inside, Vinny himself was prepping the dinner rush, tossing dough in the air as the windows rattled from all the activity outside. A pair of aliens stomped in, ducking under the blinking "Best Slice in the City" sign. "This establishment is hereby under Zorvanti regulation," barked the leader, surveying steaming pies on the counter. Vinny wiped his hands on his apron and peered at his alien guests. "You want a slice, you gotta wait like everybody else. Our directive is to seize resources," the alien insisted, visor fogging up from the heat. "Nobody's seizing anything until you try the margarita," Vinny countered. sliding a fresh pie from the oven. The aliens exchanged uncertain glances. Even in training simulations, nothing in the galaxy had prepared them for the aroma of bubbling cheese. Behind the counter, Gina, Vinny's daughter, tapped a frying pan in one palm and glared at the invaders. "You break it, you pay for it. And don't drip space goo on the tiles." "We just mopped." The first alien leaned forward, inspecting a pepperoni slice. At that exact moment, the back door swung open and Vinny's cousin Paulie stomped in with a baseball bat over his shoulder and flour all over his shoes. "Vinny, you got company?" "The kind that doesn't tip," Vinny answered. Paulie looked the aliens up and down, cracked his neck, and nodded at Gina. "You want I should call Ma?" The lead alien, unsettled, tried to stand taller. "We have advanced weaponry and absolute authority." Vinny shrugged and slid a pizza cutter across the counter. "Then cut yourself a piece and get out of the way. The dinner crowd's coming. Anyone walking by would have seen something rare. 2 armored, alien warriors clutching a slice of pizza, frozen. Truly not sure if they'd just been conquered. Behind them, tourists snapped photos and cheered when the aliens visibly struggled with the molten cheese. It was the first time an invader paused for napkins. Over on 7th Avenue, the situation had become a tug-of-war between police barricades and alien patrols. The NYPD coordinated out of sheer muscle memory, blending with bodega clerks, street food vendors, and even Elmo, who seemed to appear at every breaking news moment. A rookie officer glanced at his sergeant. "Is this real life?" The sergeant replied, "If you need to ask, you haven't worked the Thanksgiving parade. Stay sharp." Several security guards from a nearby theater joined the barricade effort. Armed with folding chairs and the confidence that only bouncers working in Midtown possess. From behind a sandwich board, a grumpy lady in a Statue of Liberty, costume scribbled $20 for selfies, with defeated aliens, and waved to confused Zorvanti who were trying, and failing, to negotiate with a hot dog cart. City's stubborn streak was rising, infecting everyone in earshot. Even the pigeons strutted a little bolder. Down in the subway, the last Zorvanti squad that tried to impose order found itself surrounded by the evening rush. Their sensors, designed for battlefields and alien worlds, overloaded within seconds, screeching trains, dripping pipes, unintelligible announcements, and a crowd that never slowed down. A tall commuter in a suit stepped through the turnstile, brushing past the aliens. "That armor doesn't excuse you from paying. Everybody's got to tap." A grandmother with a shopping cart gave a shove, sending the nearest alien off balance. "I've waited 15 years for a seat on this train." "You're not starting today, honey." The lead alien activated his translator drone for help. The device sizzled, caught a mouthful of New York accent, and gave up. Meanwhile, a musical duo on the platform cranked out a saxophone and drum routine, switching from "Take the A Train" to "Stayin' Alive" while tourists gathered. Even that alien squad had to wait for the next train, pressed up against a map of the subway, possibly the only labyrinth in the universe they didn't want to solve. When the downtown local arrived, the herd of humanity swept the aliens on board. They disappeared into the crush, one of them yelping, "We're not prepared for this density!" As the doors closed, back topside, 2 sanitation workers watched a platoon of aliens try to block off a major intersection. Louis, the driver, shook his head as he leaned on his broom. "I seen worse after New Year's Eve," he grumbled. His partner Frankie spat in the gutter. "If they mess with these piles, I'm putting in for overtime." An armored Zorvanti officer tried to direct Louis's truck, pointing at the trash and waving a plasma rifle. Louis glared unimpressed. "You touching those bags?" "You better have gloves, friend." Before the officer could answer, a squad of city cyclists zipped through, bells blaring. One of them threw a coffee at a passing alien drone with pinpoint accuracy. Nobody batted an eye, even inside bars and clubs. The alien presence became another reason to argue over crowd control. At the Velvet Fire Escape, a rainbow-lit drag bar in Hell's Kitchen, the Zorvanti made their last and worst tactical error of the night. 6 helmeted figures barged through the front door, proclaiming, "This venue is seized by Zorvanti command. Compliance is mandatory." The music cut off for exactly 2 seconds. At the microphone, Miss Lyrica Devine, 6 feet tall in heels and draped in diamonds, arched an eyebrow and turned to face their new guests. "Oh, honey, you're interrupting my number. And your fashion sense is a hate crime." The crowd burst into laughter, clapping and cheering. The lead alien tried again, louder. "All humans will—" He was interrupted by a glittery stiletto hurled so hard it knocked his visor sideways. The crowd erupted, and more bar patrons flanked the invaders, pelting them with napkins, lemon wedges, and enthusiastic shade. Someone hit the lights. The strobes went wild, and in the chaos, the only thing louder than alien orders was the roar of laughter and applause. By the time the invaders got their bearings, Miss Lyrica was leading the crowd in a fierce chant, "Not today, intergalactic Karen! Not today!" The city had spoken, and just like that, the first night of the invasion belonged to New York. Inside their command shuttle, the Zorvanti officers were frantic. Sensors reported their units scattered across Midtown, some lost underground, a few stuck in traffic, and several requesting emergency upgrades to emotional shielding. Supreme Director Grolax's nerves were fraying. He'd launched invasions before. One time he broke the back of a mining rebellion just by showing up for lunch. But nothing like this had ever happened. Privik, his tactical aide, nervously adjusted his headpiece. "Sir, our patrols have been neutralized by substances described as garlic water, municipal jazz, and strong opinions." Grolax bared his fangs. "Most species flee. These humans escalate." The console flashed again. "Alert. Downtown squad conflicted by local permit office." "What does that mean?" Grolax barked. The officer stammered. They attempted to cross a construction zone and were detained by men with clipboards. The workers demanded paperwork. "Squad leader Canary is filling out an application in triplicate." Grolax squeezed a stress orb. "How can one city generate so much resistance without firing a single planetary weapon?" Privik pondered. "Perhaps it's cultural, sir. Soldiers report heavy sarcasm, constant arguing, and unexpected refreshments." The Supreme Director nearly choked. "Refreshments?" "Commander Isnar accepted a slice of something labeled Meat Lovers Deluxe and is now expressing existential regret." Down at street level, the chaos had become symphonic. Tony, still in his cab, watched as a sanitation truck boxed in a twitchy Zorvanti attack drone. "Gotta give it to Louis," he mused. "Nobody wrangles garbage like this block." Louis waved from behind the steering wheel of his sanitation beast, then leaned out and yelled at nearby aliens. "You mess with the city's trash schedule. You answer to raccoons, then you answer to me." The crowd on the street cheered. Watching sanitation and delivery trucks outmaneuver alien vehicles became a new sport. Bets were placed on whether the next squad of invaders would get caught in a revolving door or lost inside a Century 21. Meanwhile, a group of gym enthusiasts had taken the initiative. Decked in neon shorts and attitude, they blocked Central Park's north entrance with exercise bands and loud encouragement. "No abductions before cardio," shouted Manny, slapping a dumbbell into palm. When an alien tried to explain his presence, one of the runners just offered him a protein shake. By now, word of the invasion had spread far beyond Manhattan. In Brooklyn, residents streamed across the bridge, some on foot, others on bikes, all deeply offended that they hadn't been attacked first. On social media, debates raged. Was this the greatest city defense in history or just another Tuesday? The Zorvanti had never faced this, a city that treated invasion like a block party with bus delays. Tony's phone buzzed, his cousin in Queens. "You see this on the news?" "I'm living the news, Vinny. I just threatened a 10-foot space lizard with a tire iron and got a round of applause. From borough to borough, the city's strongest links were attitude and stubborn pride. In a deli, a stubborn old man named Abe guarded his sandwiches as a line of aliens peered inside. One Zorvanti officer addressed him, "We claim this establishment. Surrender now." Abe didn't even look up from the register. "You pay for what you squash, pal." "No exceptions." The officer hefted his weapon, unsure. "Is this a negotiation?" "We demand cooperation." Abe pointed at the no checks, no credit, no nonsense sign. "You want to conquer, you start with the cold cuts." Otherwise, take a number and get in line. Moments later, his voice boomed through the deli. Next! Making the officer's helmet speakers rattle. That squad left with nothing but bruised egos and a lesson in pastrami etiquette. Back on the command ship, Grolax finally snapped. If we cannot seize these ground zones, then send the Domitor Walker. Crush their will. Trample their courage. His officers shuddered. Nobody liked unleashing the Dominator unless things had gone truly sideways. Down on 8th Avenue, the 30-foot mechanical walker thundered down, squashing 3 parked cars, a hot dog cart, and any hope of normal traffic resuming. Lights flashed, cannons swiveled, and the loudspeaker boomed, "Submit to the Empire! No civil disputes allowed!" The first response? A symphony of car horns and a flying shoe. Someone tossed a hot dog, mustard, and onions directly at the walker's eye. It splattered with perfect New York accuracy. The walker stomped forward, scattering pedestrians. Even cops ducked behind mailboxes. The Dominator's pilot felt the brief thrill of real progress, until a bodega cat darted across its sensors and set off every alarm on its dashboard. 3 blocks away, construction foreman Eddie watched the chaos from a tower crane, headphones blaring a playlist called Hard Hat Hits. He radioed down, "Is that thing inspected?" Jimmy, his partner on the ground, snorted. No harness, no permit, no chance. With a sigh, Eddie rotated his crane, positioning a steel beam right above the colossal walker. If you want something done, may as well do it union. The beam swung, a perfect arc, smashing into the Dominator's gleaming head. The walker reeled as sirens and cheers merged into one wild sound. Eddie adjusted the beam for a second pass. Crack! This time the rear cannon spun and locked. The crowd gasped, then cheered again. The walker staggered backward, tangled in its own power cables. Locals snapped photos, a news chopper hovered above, and someone started live streaming with the headline, "Aliens Caught Outside Building Code." A pizza delivery van skidded past the scene, Vinny and Paulie in the front, ready to add their own stamp on the day. They swerved around flaming wreckage, hopping the curb to deliver dinner, never missing a turn, even now. As flower clouds filled the air and city grit stuck to every surface, a new chant rose up from the crowd. Whose city? Our city! Up in the mothership, Grolax gripped the console so tightly his gloves tore. I don't understand. Why are they singing? Why aren't they running? Privik started to answer, then stopped, eyebrows raised as explosions, music, and laughter all echoed from below. Down on the street, the Dominator's legs buckled, slipping on spilled soda and pizza sauce. Its right arm crashed through a barricade. Its left jammed into a row of delivery bikes. The mighty walker, built to humble armies, tipped forward, then toppled hard, its loudspeaker fizzling to static. A crowd of New Yorkers broke into applause, as if it was the Macy's parade and the balloon had just landed. The aliens had aimed to control the city. Instead, New York's greatest weapon, its people, were just now warming up. The fall of the Dominator Walker echoed down 8th Avenue. The great machine sprawled sideways between shell-shocked cabs and butchered bike racks. For a second, it almost looked like another piece of public art. New Yorkers, always ready to move on, started snapping selfies and arguing about whose block the walker would look best on. Inside the collapsed monster, the alien pilot staggered out, antennae drooping. He tried to announce his surrender, but was promptly interviewed by a podcast host and a local teenager streaming live to his followers. The questions were relentless. What's your name? Is this your first time in the city? Did you download the City Bike app? The pilot just moaned, this place is unmanageable. Street vendors set up shop next to the wreckage. Hot coffee. Get your alien knockout mug, barked Murray, now branding his cart the Intergalactic BBQ. Some passing NYU students tried to sell chunks of the walker as authentic space tech. It sold out before the police even arrived. Up on the mothership, Grolax felt his confidence leaking like water from a busted hydrant. Reports flooded in from every deck. Supreme Director, our ground patrols are requesting, support pets. Morale officers, bring them stress balls and comfort lizards. Grolax snapped, but deep down, he felt what the tactical reports wouldn't say. New York had survived, not by uniting, but by doubling down on everything weird, loud, and chaotic. Privik frowned at his display. Our officers are stuck in subway tunnels, Supreme Director. They're reporting hostiles with bagels? Grolax's hand shook. Bagel hostiles? Nearby, the feed switched to another disaster. Zorvanti troops bundled into a Brooklyn bodega, only to be greeted by the midnight regulars. As one troop tried to assert authority, the bodega cat climbed up his back and curled onto his helmet. The owner just pointed to the pastries, then to a faded no loitering sign. It was clear who was in charge. Meanwhile, at a downtown barbershop, a lone Zorvanti officer ducked inside hoping for cover. Instead, he found himself next in line for a fade. The barber turned off the clippers and sized up the trembling alien. "Sit down, Chief. You want high and tight or the usual lattice pattern?" The alien tried to protest. I demand your submission," a grizzled barber answered. "You can demand all you want. Here it's first come, first served. By the end..." The Zorvanti's helmet was decorated with an impeccable side part, and he was $35 lighter in Earth currency. Even in quieter blocks, the city's resistance took odd new forms. An alien squad trying to chase down fugitives on Canal Street got swallowed by a pop-up parade advertising a new bubble tea spot. They were pelted with confetti and left holding a half-dozen flyers before they found their way out. On Houston, 4 heavily armed Zorvanti collided with a chess crew who challenged them to a lightning match. The officers accepted, thinking it was a form of psychological warfare, then discovered the fury of a city grandmaster who yelled, "Checkmate," loud enough to scramble their headsets. The more the Zorvanti tried to assert control, the weirder things got. One squad was cornered by 3 grandmas armed with rolling pins and angry Yiddish. Another had their powered armor tagged by a graffiti artist who managed to scrawl "Nice try" in perfectly straight bubble letters. Back in Hell's Kitchen, the drag show at the Velvet Fire Escape never really stopped. After their failed raid, the Zorvanti squad was last seen being hustled out the back door by the bouncer, a mountain of a man named Andre, while Miss Lyrica Devine led the crowd in a victory number as the fog machine hissed and disco balls spun. Miss Lyrica purred into the mic. "Remember, darlings, it's not what tries to land in your city, it's how you kick its butt back out." A fresh round of applause. Even the bartender saluted as a glitter-dusted Zorvanti bolted for the alley, new pride flags stuck to his armor. In a 5th-floor walk-up on the far west side, a single Zorvanti trooper, Yekram, crashed through a window chasing a civilian, only to find himself face-to-face with an ex-con named Big Mike. Big Mike didn't bother to get up from his armchair. He studied the invader, took a slug of ginger ale, and pointed toward the broken window. "You break it, you fix it. You got super glue?" Yekram tried to issue an ultimatum but stopped when Mike flexed his knuckles, an unspoken warning that here, the parole board was a scarier force than any conqueror. By the time command called him back for extraction, Yekram was sweeping up glass under Big Mike's supervision. Grumbling, "This city refuses to surrender?" "Even in private quarters," Mike replied with a wink. "Welcome to New York." As the night wore on, the city just got louder. Police, sanitation crews, Broadway actors, street preachers, bodega cats, and delivery bikers all found ways to work around or through the chaos. What had started as a plan for total conquest was looking more like the weirdest flash mob in local history. Tourists bragged about their part in the extraterrestrial takedown. The news ran breathless updates. The crawl scrolled. Aliens repulsed by loud, confusing New York. A man on the radio cracked, "I always said the rats would keep us safe." Turns out, so did attitude. On the mothership, Grolax glared at the endless parade of failed reports, catching a screen glimpse of his battered soldiers wandering back, covered in neon stickers, glitter, and what appeared to be cookie crumbs. He tried one last bark of leadership. "Reverse the dropships. Prepare orbital fallback." Down on the city streets, the retreat was sudden and total. Zorvanti units ghosted toward their landers, chased not by tanks or missiles, but by laughter, horns, and one very determined pizza guy still waiting on a delivery tip. Vinny waved a pizza box over his head as the last dropship lifted off. Hey, next time bring exact change. Above Manhattan, the command fleet's engines fired, rising through the cloud cover, broadcasting a final, scratchy message across every radio. This planet is volatile. Further conquest not recommended. But New Yorkers, as the ships vanished, didn't even blink. Someone rolled out a fresh bag of trash. Cops started filling out paperwork. A traffic warden ticketed a dropped alien rifle. The city, immortal and immune to invasion, just rolled on. By midnight, the streets of Manhattan were sticky with pizza grease, spilled soda, glitter, stray feathers, and just a hint of ozone. Tourists crunched through confetti. Locals swapped stories at bus stops and corner bodegas, most looking as if they'd just finished a double shift during a blizzard, but with that sharp glint in their eyes that said, "Told you so." The headlines came as fast as the memes. Aliens surrender to New York momentum. Space invaders get hit with reality. Hot dog water. No power greater than pigeon determination. TV anchors tried to sound dignified, but wound up laughing between interview clips, footage of a drag queen scolding an alien warlord, a sanitation crew boxing in a shuttle, Vinny threatening to charge for an uneaten slice. The world watched, and everyone saw. New York's defense wasn't unity or high command. It was a perfect storm of stubbornness and never, ever giving up the sidewalk. Out on the sidewalk, Denise leaned against Tony's cab, adjusting her business suit and glancing back at the glow of empty sky. Tony grinned, engine idling. "Honestly, I was more scared the Mets could get swept. But this? We'll bill someone?" She shook her head, bemused. "So what now, hero?" Tony shrugged. "Gotta keep the meter running. Space or no space." From the curb, Murray, the hot dog vendor, announced a new menu item. Alien dog. Now with extra spice, and lines formed fast. Because if anyone knew how to take advantage of chaos, it was a midtown food cart. Meanwhile, inside Vinny's Famous, the survivors gathered for one last late-night pie. The place buzzed with exhausted laughter and cell phones lighting up with footage of alien squads running for the nearest dropship. Paulie wiped off the counter and declared, "Tomorrow, prices go up. You battle for the last slice, you pay double." Vinny nodded. "I should charge hazard pay." Gina rolled her eyes but smiled as she watched a red-faced Zorvanti soldier on TV wrapped in a pizza box for warmth. And in an apartment high above the city, Big Mike sat content in his chair, remote in hand, watching the best moments replay on the news. He grunted, "Should charge those aliens rent," and dozed off. City sirens singing him to sleep. Outside, through every window and hallway, you could just about feel the heartbeat of New York. Pride and weariness, defiance and humor, stitched together in a single, unspoken message, "Don't mess with us." Up on the orbiting Zorvanti command ship, Supreme Director Grolax faced the High Council. Smeared armor, wilted pride, a dusting of confetti still stuck to his cape. The council president growled, "You invaded a single city. What excuse do you have for this defeat?" Grolax, shaking, answered with a truth he never would have expected. "They didn't fight like an army. They fought like a neighborhood with too many opinions. There may be planets easier than Earth, but there is nowhere tougher than New York," the council murmured. One tried to ask about human tactics, but Grolax just waved a hand. Next question. The council quietly changed galactic plans. No future missions slated for Earth, especially not during rush hour. Days later, the city was back to form. The subways, never truly clean, buzzed with stories that hovered between legend and joke. Memorial T-shirts read, "I survived Tuesday" and "Take me to your leader after coffee." A mural appeared near the Hudson, an alien in armor. Draped in a Yankees scarf with the words, "Wrong block, right attitude." Vinny's Pizza sold out for a week. Miss Lyrica Devine trended on every network as Queen of the Rappel. Louis from Sanitation was honored at City Hall. The city, battered but unbowed, even raised its bar for weirdness. Because if you want to survive here, you learn to expect the unexpected. And Tony, for one night only, ran his cab free of charge. His meter flashed 0.00, but to every passenger he said the same thing. "Next stop, home. It's yours. We earned it. The world kept spinning. The city kept complaining. about rent, about the trains, about the price of everything. But anyone who was there could tell you what really happened. And why the aliens left so fast. Because in New York, being stubborn is a superpower. And every block is family. And if you come for this city, you better be ready for a fight, a slice, a crowd, and a story that nobody outside would ever believe.